Hi everyone, it's Jules, and I'm back to review another game. So today I'm actually going to do a kids game. I'm going to do a game I actually played a lot as a younger kid and recently rebought to see if I still liked it. So I'm going to be reviewing Guess Who. So, let's see, Guess Who, I had it when I was a kid, and like I said, I loved the game when I was younger. And then it fell apart as games were wont to do, got lost, or my parents gave it to some younger cousin. I'm not really sure what happened to it, but the point is, I no longer had it as I grew up. And then a few years ago, I was in Oswego with my sister, Oswego, New York, and Albany, New York, I believe. And we went into a little ice cream store to get ice cream, and inside the store they were selling re-released board games. And they had Guess Who, they had Battleship, they had Scrabble. I think they had one more, but I can't remember what it was. But I know they had those three. Let's see if I can remember based on what I have here. And Rummikub, and they had Rummikub. And being a board game person, I decided to rebuy my games and take them home. I think my sister kept Scrabble, but I took the others because my sister's not a big board game person, so I think that's the only one she really wanted. So I took Guess Who home. I didn't have a chance to play it for a very, very long time. I played it a little while ago when I was going through my board games, and I realized that this new version they made is awful. I don't know if it's just because I'm older, so it's not as fun, or if it's because they've changed some of the rules and the format a little bit, but all I can tell you is I don't like it anymore. And I'm sure it's great if you're a kid, but the rules are different, the format's a little different, and I just think the old format was just so much better, so I don't really know why they changed it, but that's what they do. They get games, they change it. So, Guess Who is for 2 players, and it's for 6 and up. And they have so many versions out now. They have a Marvel version, a Disney version, they have a famous people version, you can go on like Etsy and print out like pictures of people in your life and make a Guess Who version of that. So many versions of Guess Who. I have the original version, so that's the version I'm going to go over, and it's by Hasbro, which I'm not a huge fan of Hasbro right now, but I'm not going to buy any new games from them, but I still think I'm going to still go over some games that they've done. I'm not going to buy any new games from Hasbro for a while. For a full account, you can definitely look online what's going on with Hasbro. So, kind of show you Guess Who. So Guess Who comes with these boards, red and blue. And now, the old game of Guess Who, you had these like little character things, and they would all slide in to these, and these would actually pop up, not out, like they do now. They would actually set up, and they were like, and you'd pick a card, and that would be the person that the other player had to guess that you had. Now they have these like sheets that you slide in, and they have a human side, and they have a pet side. So I guess there's that, but so basically you don't pick a card, you just pick any character that you want. So I'm like on here and I'm like, I'm gonna be Nick, I'm gonna be Zachary, anyone you really want. And you just keep it in your head. Or there's like a little thing up here where I guess you could like put the pointers so you know who you have, I guess, if you can't remember. And the other player asks you yes or no questions based on who, and they try to guess who you have based on your questions. So you're like sitting here, and the other player is sitting across from you. My blue one's broken. Here's the red one. The one's broken. So you're sitting here with your Guess Who, your little Guess Who thing. So you can see all the people, and you can see the people up front. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, I'm picking Kyle, who's up here. Right there, Kyle, blonde. So, and let's say my opponent picked someone else, like Chris or whatever. So I would ask them yes or no questions. So my first question would be, is your character, and it has to be yes or no or either end, so like male, female, or yes or no. So I could say, is your character a male? And they'd go, yes. So what I would do is I'd put down all the females, because if their character is a male, it can't be a female. I'd put down all the females. And then they'd ask me a question. They'd put it down based off, they're like, oh, is your character brunette? And I would say, no, they'd put down all the brunettes. And then I'd go again and say, oh, is your character wearing a hat? And they'd go, yes. So I'd put down all the characters that are not wearing a hat. Ooh, I'm down to 3. And then they would say something like, oh, does your character have glasses? And I would be like, no. And they'd put down all the players' glasses, and I could say, is your player wearing a baseball cap? And they'd say, yes. Brandon down. And then they could say, oh, is your character blonde or whatever? And I could say, yes. And basically, the last person to have one character left can guess and hopefully get it right based on the process of elimination. It was invented by Ora and Thor Koster. They're Israelis, and it was originally designed by a game called Thor Design. And it was manufactured by Milton Bradley in 1979 in the UK, and it's now owned by Hasbro. It was bought into the US in 1982. And the cool thing is, when Milton Bradley first started coming out with in 1979, they were actually designing the people in their game based on real people, which is super cool. So the pros of Guess Who is it's super quick, super easy, family friendly, because you can be 6, you could probably even teach it to a 5 or 4-year-old, so you can play with your kids. And this is travel friendly, like maybe not the whole board, but this itself can easily be packed or good for car rides. If you have kids in the back, hopefully they can distract themselves for like 10-15 minutes, which is good. We just played an imaginary game in like 3 minutes, so it's really quick. But I think if you're younger, it probably does take a little bit longer. The cons, it's 2 players, and my biggest con is that it is unfair to women. So there is all these characters, all these wonderful characters, and there's, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 24 characters, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 women out of 24 characters. 5. I think that's that, right? Sarah, Emily, Ashley, Megan, Rachel. 5 women. 5. Out of 24. But I'm not the only one who thinks this. So in 2012, 5 women to 19 men. So in 2012, a 6-year-old wrote a letter to Hasbro to complain. And she wrote, I'm 6 years old. I think it's not fair to only have 5 girls in Guess Who and 19 boys. It's not only boys who are important, girls are important too. If grown-ups get into thinking that girls are not important, they won't give little girls much care. Also, if girls want to be girls in Guess Who, they'll always lose against a boy, and it will be hard for them to win. Which is exactly true. And I applaud this girl. So Hasbro wrote back and said that the 5, every characteristic had 5 of them. So apparently being a girl is a characteristic. So they're like, oh, well, we have 5 blondes, we have 5 brunettes, we have 5 people with glasses, we have 5 people with hats, and we have 5 girls. So boy is like the control, and girl is a characteristic of being a boy. So super unfair. And it's also not very race diverse. And this is not just the new Guess Who. The old Guess Who only had a handful of girls too, and it was still very hard to win as a girl. But they had so many better characters. I'm telling you, all these characters are happy. If you look, they're all like smiling, like, oh, Guess Who, world is wonderful. But they had like sad people when I was a kid. They had this one guy named Bernard who looked like he was a prisoner. I remember they had characters that just looked like upset, and they were like sad. And it was more interesting to me than all these characters like, yeah, Guess Who is the Happy Land. I just think having emotion was also a good way to distinguish, is your character smiling or is your character frowning? And it was another way to ask questions. Also, there was this character, I think his name was Thomas. He was weird looking. He had like this narrow face. I think he had like glasses, and I had the hugest crush on him. Yeah, I think it was Thomas or Victor or something. I think it was Thomas, but I don't know why I thought he was so handsome, but I remember like being like, oh my gosh, this guy is cute, and it's embarrassing. So they've released like a few versions. They, like I said, this one had no face cards. I actually started making face cards because I thought it was better that you had to like pick your get and like randomly. That way, if you got a girl, it was like just the luck of the draw. I'm not a very good artist though, and I didn't finish. So I got like David, Andy, Kyle, creepy, William, and Connor. Obviously, I'm not a very good artist. I got bored and didn't finish, but I also don't play Guess Who, so it's not like imperative that I do finish. I think I did Sarah at some point too, but I might have dropped her. I think I dropped her, and I don't know where she went. I guess I could just write names, and people could just pick the names. I play with, I also don't like that the faces are smaller. They used to be much bigger. I don't like that they flip sideways instead of up and down. I just thought it was better. A lot of my favorite characters are gone. And yeah, like I said, the whole smiling thing, all the smiles, I just don't think it's super realistic. In the real world, we're not always happy, right? Yeah. So in 1979, like I said, they brought in real people to model. And in US ads, it showed all the characters coming to life and talking to one another, which is super cool. But eventually they had to add a disclaimer saying game cards do not actually talk because they had to meet Federal Trade Commission guidelines. And then Hasbro came out with a computer version in 1999. There is some setup required, but not too much. So, Guess Who? I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 10, but then again, I'm not the target audience. I'm not 6. I don't have a child. But I still also think that even if I did want to play Guess Who, I would have preferred I could find the old version that I used to own. So not my favorite game. Interesting history, though, I definitely think. Very easy to learn, so that's excellent. And I actually think the whole Etsy thing with like printing out your friends is really cool. I kind of want to try that, but again, like I don't know who I play Guess Who with. So I don't really know if that would even really be like practical, I guess. But that's it for today. That's Guess Who for you. Guess Who. Playing on the back. Oh, and like I said, there is a pet version on the back now, which I didn't have as a kid. I just had people. And they have dogs, lizards, birds, pigs, cats, skunks, mice, horse. They have, like, not just dogs and cats. So there is that version too. Horse, I think. Yeah, so that's kind of cool that you can flip it over and play either side. You have the yellow side with the pets and the green side with the people. Like I said, I just had people growing up, but that's kind of cool. So you do have 2 versions to play. So when your kids get bored of the people or bored of the pets, you can say, hey, flip it over and play the other side. And hopefully they will be quiet for a little bit longer on that car ride that you have to take cross country or whatever. So that's it for today, and until next time, keep rolling.